Let's go to the
censorship,
the P Diddy stuff.
Oh God!
All right, so you know how
Diddy.
I feel about our culture and really being pro pedophilia, pro misbehavior, pro demonic. Like we have so many of the people who are ruling over us that we put on a pedestal that are misbehaving in such a way. Because you got to look at it this way. Just like we talk about a lottery winner. If they're a bad person, the lottery just magnifies everything that there is, right? Mm-hmm. So if you are being ruled by demons and you give them power and money, what do you think is going to happen? They're going to do demonic stuff, and they're going to do terrible things that when it's brought to light, that we're appalled that we can't believe these bad people who sing about killing and hoes and drugs and whatever are killing and drugs and hoes. And we're like, how did that happen? Right? Come on. But the bad part is how insulated they are and how protected they are. Because if we knew how many of them were terrible people, we would not give them any of the power that they have. Like what would happen to our government if a majority of the people were, we just kind of, my AI that tells everything that they're doing. Yeah. If we just got the load, right, the data dump on everything that they really do and really think and really are, how many of them would be there? I would like to think that they would be sent to an island and be cast into a volcano. But if it's on your team, right?
Yeah.
Then they might not get cast in and I fear that more than anything else. So the P. Diddy stuff.
And then unfortunately, there's other fear that makes it more difficult to even prosecute anyone, because I heard somewhere on the radio and I sort of tuned in the middle of a conversation, so I might have missed some of this. So this may or may not be true. But it sounds like they said that they're having difficulty finding a jury because people are afraid of what he can do to them. And
the important people who he's going to name are going to come out through the trial and what they could do to them.
Yeah. So it's like, whether it's politics, whether it's P. Diddy, whether it's anybody in a position of power and influence, it's now harder to prosecute because you've got to get a jury of their peers, and you can't find that if even they are threatened or corrupt themselves. So how do you do it?
Between Diddy and Epstein and everything that I hope comes out, right? Yeah. It is going to change the landscape of who our rulers are. I hope.
So you had asked earlier about would you do the right thing knowing it could cause
100%
destruction? If you were up for jury duty in a high profile case against someone that dangerous, would you do the right thing knowing you could be a danger?
If the system is broken, would I take a risk for a broken justice system? Hell no. No.
Like they won't keep me
safe. If I felt like it was a system that was blind and it just did the right thing too, I would join it because they'd be on my team. If they're corrupt and they just do things politically motivated and you can buy yourself out of going to jail for killing 2 people, yeah, I'm not going to play that game.
Yeah, like would you be like, I want witness protection when this trial is done and during, but would you trust that you could get it?
No, not at all, because I think the people would be protecting me are also part of the scheme. I don't trust any of it.
So do you think he's going to get off pretty easily?
P. Diddy?
Yeah. Or at least a lighter sentence?
No, I think what they'll do is he will take the fall, right? And all of those lists that he has where he can name people, that will go away. Those people will be protected and he'll take the fall.
You think he'll last in prison long?
Well, I think the deal to keep the name sealed will give him the insulation from him being killed in jail or whatever. He'll be a liability.
Insulate him from unaliving himself.
Unaliving. Well, that might happen too. That's a strategy, a very popular strategy amongst the rich and powerful, is that if he doesn't play ball and protect the people that were part of those parties, then yeah. But I don't know that people in entertainment are as protected as people in politics. So a lot of those people are entertainers. So you'll see a lot of your favorite movie stars and whatever might go down as part of this, because I know he's got that button right?
Yeah.
If
I
this
mean,
starts,
they say it was like, especially years ago, it was the place to be, was at a P. Diddy party. And if you were up and coming in Hollywood, you needed to be there. So now, even if you went there and didn't know there was any wrongdoing, you just look bad by being there.
did you see James O'Keefe is doing what the Trump administration is not doing? He's releasing those videos.
Oh, yeah, I forgot. Did
So,
we have another one?
Yeah, he had another one, and
Oh.
there was video footage. Nobody was in it, but it was actually just showing the place that these guys partied in on Epstein's Island, and the kitchen on the wall has a big painting portrait of a baby, like a young kid, in a bathtub filled with blood, holding a phallic item. So you walk into a kitchen, and that's the artwork that you display.
What?
How deranged and demonic was these whole subcultures that nobody called out while it was happening, and tons of people participated. And you walk into the kitchen and see that being displayed and the debauchery that's happening around you. Those people need to be thrown in that volcano yesterday.
You know what I heard recently? I saw a snippet of a podcast. This is so effed up. Like, I didn't want to bring this up, but maybe we should be so that people know the magnitude of this. It was a Tim Tebow interview. And he's been really active lately with trying to stop pedophiles and sex trafficking and things of that nature. And he was talking about a case they were looking into of, there's a lot of words you can't say on YouTube. People, young, like kids, were being assaulted brutally while someone stood there and read the Bible to them so that they would associate this with the word of God, just to mess them up more. Mm-hmm. And then they were continued to abuse. They did all that. And then they have conversations from these sick, twisted people about growing their own, meaning we impregnate, we have offspring of our victims to make new victims. Like, they are growing more if they can't find more. And I'm like, if that's not the most effed up thing I have ever,
demonic evil,
that is evil. And I'm just like, oh my God. And so how big is this? How do you stop it? How do you, I don't know.
That's what I'm saying. Like the ungluing of the Epstein and P. Diddy thing side by side. And we get to peek in with how many of these are. I mean, you can't look through news articles and not find somebody who's just now going to prison for that kind of stuff. So how many patrons of this? Everybody who's reasonable will say those people need to be distanced from society. And everything that contributes to that needs to be, we need to figure out, those universities on the Hill, figure out what leads to that. And we need to rid ourselves of that in society. And if it needs to be tyrannical, that is the first tyranny that I will actually support, is getting rid of the demonic culture that we're in right now.
Because like we were saying earlier, the difference between, do they deserve a death penalty? I don't know anyone that wouldn't want them taken out.
For sure.
But if they're sick in the head, should they just be in an institution for life? You've got to be broken in the head to do things like that. Something in your wiring has gone wrong.
Right.
So what? Where does it start? How do you find this before it gets to that point? You know, like, and then would you take someone in an instance like that and say, just hospitalize them for the rest of their lives, or take them out?
That's a medical question to see if those people are redeemable. I don't know that they are. I don't know what it would take. I don't know what kind of rehabilitation someone can go through to squeeze that out of them, if it can even be done. And if it can't be done, children need to be protected.
I mean, even the argument, like we've talked about this sick, twisted argument about how some people believe that pedophilia should just be accepted. Like, hey, there was like a term I think we talked about that there's like a group of people that just like younger, I don't know. They're trying to justify it, basically. even if it were just the act of child abuse and how sick that is. But when you throw into it the planning that goes, the thought process, the how can we find more victims, the artwork behind it, even the whole I'm going to read the Bible to them while I do this just to mess them up more, that's now more than just one screw loose. That is premeditated evil. That is, I want to make this as horrific as I can. And it's like, to me, that's a whole other level than just I'm sick in the head and I'm attracted to kids and I need help.
Yeah, like what's contributing to that, where these aren't outliers. It's obviously when you become wealthy and you have power and you're protected from the consequences of your actions, then this sprouts up. And is there a counterforce that stops that from happening? And I mean, it's not, if we lived in a society where there were one or two serial killers, we'd know how to deal with that. But if we were amongst all serial killers, like I saw the Tim Tebow thing, they had a map plotted with how many people were patrons of that kind of material. And it wasn't one-offs. If you look at the Predator map for people who need to distance themselves from kids and education institutions, that thing looks like chickenpox. There's probably 5 on your block right now. So it is so prevalent. This is not one-off. We need to hit it with the nuclear option, not this whole let's be delicate and not hurt anybody's feelings. So the volcano needs to be big and it needs to have a lot of lava because we're going to be dismantling a lot of people.
Gosh. Dennis says some people think that can be rehabilitated, like they think morality can be legislated. Julie says, evil is evil. I don't care if they have a mental problem. They should not breathe another breath.
Yep. And if that's what they come up with, I mean, I'm okay either way. If you can bring someone back without having to kill them and it's 100%, you never put them in front of another child again.
No. And that's the thing. Like, when I hear about something so evil like that, to just give them the death penalty seems too humane. I feel like they get off too easily. Like, I don't want you to just be injected with something and you go to sleep and you're done now. I want you to live out the rest of your days in absolute agony.
Yeah, well, we are wired to know that that is not something that is natural or should be tolerated. Yeah. And so when someone does that, it should be such a big overreaction so that it dissuades anybody from ever doing it because they know what the consequences are. But then we profile it, and if you're rich and powerful, you just kind of get away with it. And so it's like, hey, I'm going to just, go down all of my impulse boulevards and do everything that feels good. And if that means preying upon children as part of that, then so be it. Nobody gets in trouble for that anyway.
So let's talk about a slippery slope idea.
Yeah.
You talked about the, like the map where people have to register if they are a sex offender. You see them in their neighborhoods and everything. If they abused a child, obviously they should be looked at a certain way. How do you feel about that same list of evil perverts, including somebody who was 19 and slept with a 17-year-old, and now they're on a list? Do you look at it the same way, or do you like, that's different?
Well, if you're writing the law to take someone who actually preyed on an age that was young, right, way before they even can enter into any kind of relationship, the rules got to be hard and fast. Like, there are people who are dabbling on the fringes of that, and I'm not going to throw them on in the volcano. If like a 17-year-old or 18-year-old, a 17-year-old, that seems like there wasn't any predation that was happening there. That was just someone who happened to be young. So there does have to be someone of reasonable nature that can decide whether or not this was someone taking advantage of another human being and they were their prey versus the other one.
And what made me think of it is last summer, we got, my house and all our neighbors got a notification in the mail that a registered person, an offender, has now moved into our neighborhood. And it's literally like 2 houses down. Like, I can see his house from my front door. Mm-hmm. And so all of us are online and looking it up and seeing what the charges were. Like, okay, let's not freak out. Is this a case that it's either blatantly and horrifically wrong, or was this I was in a bad situation, it wasn't as bad as it sounds, kind of thing like that. And so that's why I wonder, like, should those notifications be an automatic, oh my gosh, something awful?
Almost should be like the manslaughter versus murder, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you're 100% certain that this was a predator that needs not hurt another child again, they go right into the lava. And some fringe ones that it was like you were just going through a school zone and you're unfamiliar with the area should be judged the same way.
Yeah. Dennis says, what do you think of Epstein's artwork of Clinton in the blue dress and Bush playing with toy airplanes?
I did not see that, so I'm not sure.
Should we Google it? Is it online? First of all, did James O'Keefe do this yesterday?
Tuesday.
Oh, okay. Tuesday. I was saying, I totally forgot because I wrote him off thinking you're sensationalizing something for your own benefit.
Yeah. So he's digging into it. He's getting a little bit more high resolution and he's forcing the hand of the Trump administration. So hopefully, like they're saying 14 terabytes of stuff was recovered, video footage, which means
a terabyte a lot.
Of terabytes, a lot of video.
Oh,
yeah.
Gosh.
And so they've got a lot of video. I think they said like 10,000 clips they're going through. So I'm still giving them the benefit of the doubt that there's just a trove of information. But if it doesn't lead to prosecutions or names being named of that sliver of these were true people there that were being, not just on a flight log, not that just appeared somewhere on a poolside somewhere, but these are people on video that were breaking the law with children, right? Lava right now for them. And we need to know about it and they need to go to prison for it.